Hey, good morning. Let's invent a time machine this morning. As human beings, we have the ability to think linearly in terms of time. We can imagine backwards and we can imagine forwards, and we understand the concept of things in the future exist. Whether we know what they are or not, we know that they are out there and that the future is coming. If that's true, then you have the ability to imagine or have an understanding or a vision of some future version of yourself. For a minute, pick a point in time somewhere in the future. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years into the future, there is a future you that is out there that exists. For a moment, pick a time, a point of time where that future you is not going forward into time anymore. Pick 10 years. If that you in 10 years pauses for a moment and turns to look backwards towards the current you, then that 10 years in the future stops, and suddenly you progressing forward in the current time are moving towards that you 10 years in the future. If that's true, and that 10 years in the future is coming towards you, then your future self is able to walk towards you as you walk towards the future. As that future self pauses, you're moving towards each other. Suddenly, there are two different versions of yourself that are moving towards each other in time. The cool thing about this is that there's an opportunity. As those two versions of yourself are walking towards each other, eventually they will meet. And because we're able to imagine all of this in our minds, we can imagine what it would be like to meet our future self now. 10 years from now, how old will you be? What stage of life will you be in? How old will your children be? Where will you be in your career? And we know intellectually that our decisions now change all of those variables in the future, but somewhere in the future is a future self of your future version of yourself that's walking towards you. If we're able to at least have a sense of that exists, we also have a sense of who that person is. Will they be satisfied with where they are 10 years from now? Looking back towards your current self, will that future self be satisfied with where you are right now? Will the current version of yourself be happy with where that future person is in the future? And suddenly a relationship develops, and you're able to interact in some imaginary way with that person 10 years in the future. Will you be happy with where you are? Will your future self be happy with where you are now? Will they like each other? Will they get along? Will they be grateful for each other? Will they have any advice for the other? The opportunity here, and the exercise that I challenge you to at least take a few minutes to consider, is that you have the ability to have a relationship with that future self. Whatever distance in time forward they are, and at some point you will eventually meet. 10 years from now, you will be there and be that future self. Every decision that you make, the attitudes that you choose, the path that you're on, and the decisions you make to choose paths or stay on the current path, all impact that future self. In 10 years, will you be exactly the same person you are today? If so, will your future self be satisfied with that? Take some time as we go through the next few weeks and play around with that image. Who is that future person? What do they wear? How old will they be? What relationship will they be in? How will they have treated themselves? And what advice will they have for the current you? I'd be more than happy to play around with this concept and have more conversations about it, to dig deeper into it and explore that on a personal basis. Feel free to ask any questions or comments below, and by all means contact me in order to start that type of conversation. I'm John. John Rhoads. I hope that you're able to find purpose and meaning in your daily life.